Some people had a tough time understanding my balance metaphor in the last video, so I decided to make another quick video to explain it using rock, paper, and scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is an example of a perfectly balanced game, and it is often used for video game balance, like Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem employs their own system of rock, paper, scissors with their weapon triad. Lance beats sword, sword beats axe, axe beats lance, with the occasional weapons that throw this in reverse. My confusing metaphor was basically an example of rock, paper, scissors without really using the words, so let's just go over it again. If the current meta encourages players to pick mostly paper, then it would be unwise to pick rock. However, if it's a match where you're playing and no one else is picking paper, then rock would be a suitable choice, no? A few patches ago, picking scissors was all the rage, so you had a lot of players just picking scissors in every game. You happen to be in a game where all the players already made the choices, and they happen to have picked scissors even though they're not in the current meta. Scissors may not be popular, but these players decided to pick it anyways. Would you pick paper because paper actually is in the meta? Or would you pick rock knowing rock actually counters these damn things? Paper itself would just get torn to pieces. Let's involve numbers now. Imagine if you knew there was an 80% chance all of your opponents were going to pick paper. Let's say you had to reveal your hand first before they did, but they couldn't change what they already chose. Would you pick rock knowing paper had a high chance of being used? Would you pick paper so you could just go even with them and make it a draw? Or would you gamble with scissors and try to beat them all at once? Think of it with jungle champions. Nautilus is part of an old meta that has long passed, but tank junglers are still theoretically good. Fast and aggressive junglers are all the rage now, and they crush these slow-ass jungle tanks. Would you first pick a jungle tank knowing there's a high chance your opponents would pick a highly aggressive jungler and counter you? Or would you make the smart choice of picking an aggressive jungler of your own and going even with them, or trying to pick a counter pick to those aggressive junglers? If you haven't figured it out yet, it's an attempt to show that the game goes by the idea that everything has a counter, or at least should have. We know that's not always the case, especially with how this game's balancing goes, but that's the general spirit of it. Rock, paper, scissors is perfectly balanced until Riot decides to buff rock until it becomes Dwayne Johnson, and then nerf paper at the same time until it's just a post-it note. Paper should counter rock, but at this point it's having issues doing its job. The balance team ignores scissors because no one is bothering to use scissors, despite the fact that some scissors are ridiculously strong and potentially overpowered, and some scissors are buggy and need help. The balance team then decides to fix the game by nerfing rock, by nerfing everything that made it crush scissors, so scissors has a chance of competing now. But they compensated rock by making it less weak to paper. However, now that rock has been nerfed, we find out that some of the scissors were actually the jaws of life and power shears, and this entire time. And rock doesn't even have a chance of countering them anymore. So now balance is, paper beats nothing, rock beats paper, scissors beats everything. And then Riot decides, because scissors is too easy, to make all the scissors left-handed in order to separate the good scissors players from the bad ones. The balance team then decides to nerf the jungle for no reason because it's apparently the biggest factor of balance in the game. So with this explanation, I hope the metaphor I used in the last video is better understood. Hooray for League of Legends balance.